Hi guys, Pam from the Woolly Dragon again. So this is part 2 of the October 2023 garden. Probably the last video for the year before everything goes night-night kibby for the winter. But as promised, I thought I'd get in here. Hopefully this wind doesn't drown me out too much. But just kind of see how things are definitely winding down. And it did indeed rain last night, so I'm glad to see that. Let's go see what the little rain gauge says. Every little bit helps. Oh, cool. So just a tiny touch under half an inch. Always welcome. All right, we're gonna throw it back onto the little raised bed that I've got, that I probably should be planting something in, radishes or something like that. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so what have we got going? So again, here's my little horse trough bed that I just pulled all of the bush beans out of. I like growing the bush beans up this high. This is kind of even above waist high for me. But I don't know. Bush beans just don't seem to be the right plant for up here. I try and space them out, but they still just don't seem to grow as well. I had thrown some fertilizer, some organic fertilizer and stuff like that in here before I planted the beans, and they grew okay, but the beans themselves are just kind of rubbery, and it could be just the type that I chose to plant. So that, coupled with the fact that green beans aren't one of my favorites, and I may as well just get from the store. Got little remnants of my Johnny Jump Ups with more seedlings to come, so I'll have that going all. Here's some green onions that kind of got shaded out by the green beans, so I'll give them a week or so to see if they're going to bounce back. Otherwise, I'll pull them up and put something else in their place. Here's my pecan tree seedling, still in the pot, that I can use to replace that one pecan that's in the ground that's not doing so well. Probably going to put it in a different place. I don't think that piece is a good spot. This is my little blueberry bush that I got at Walmart. I'm probably gonna have to, for the winter, I'm gonna leave it in the pot and leave it outside unless it gets really bitterly cold. But probably what I'll need to do is take off that little water reservoir, since it's not going to need as much water. I don't want it to get waterlogged over the winter. And then we'll see about planting it permanently next spring. Need to get the spot ready and get it prepped with the acidifiers and stuff like that. A little redbud tree still in the pot that I need to plant the place for. Here's 2 apple tree seedlings that I've grafted. This guy over here, and then this one in the bigger pot. That is rootstock that I'm gonna graft onto. I thought it was actually dead. I was about to throw it out, and then I realized I saw leaves. I had actually grafted onto that one along with this one last winter, late winter, early spring kind of deal. And the one on the right took, obviously, but this one right here did not take. So we'll try again. I may pot it into a larger pot just so it has a little bit more room to groove. And so you can see with this one, I think I pointed this out before, but here's the wedge graft that I did. And then we have growing from the base here that's not optimal, but I'm going to leave that alone until next spring, and then I'll pare it back, just keep an eye on it. So still have some trees that I need to get planted, obviously. This is, go around here, walking. Only time I get my exercise. So this is a plant that I got. This is like that oregano that I showed you on the last video. Also from High Country Gardens. This is a clove-scented currant that is supposed to do okay in this country. Currants sometimes have an issue, but the thing about this guy is the little yellow flowers bees are supposed to really like. So you know me and bee plants. If it says it's good for bees, I'll grow it. My Vitex Negundos, this one that's closer to the house, and then the one that's farther away over there, they're starting to go night for the autumn. Served us well and served the bees. I've pretty much been clearing out this bed. Here is that malva plant that just took over everything, and it's bouncing back now that the weather has cooled off. I think what I will do, especially since it seems to self-seed itself very well, I'm probably either going to pull that up and plant it somewhere else, because it just overshadowed my little, that's my purple tiger rose, I believe. It did okay over the years, but I think it just got too much shade from the malva next to it, and it could do better. How is it doing for, probably throw down some more soil around that base there, just kind of mulch it in for the winter. I've cut back my anise hyssop on this end for the year. We've still got some carnations and some calendulas here. I cut back the 2 dahlias that are in this bed, and again, go see if they come back. Once I go ahead, ooh, sunshine. Once I cut back the anise hyssop on this side, get rid of these seed heads. You can see there's still a few little purpley flowers, so give them a day or two more and then cut them back. And then I think what I'll do is I'll just come through here and throw down mulch, compost, garden soil, and fill this up a little higher. Kind of put a little blankie over everybody. Here is my parsnip bed that's comprised of 2 parsnips. This one, it was being munched on. You can see the little nubs here where the leaves go. It was being munched on by caterpillars earlier. This little guy just hasn't done anything. And then we've got the ubiquitous Johnny Jump Up seedlings coming up. I don't think I'll ever have to grow Johnny Jump Ups or violas ever again. Here's my sweet pepper bed that still has some peppers on it. I have taken off the shade cloth, so they can get a little bit more sun before winter drops in on us and kills all these back. I thought about possibly digging 1 or 2 of these up and overwintering them inside, but I really don't have a problem with planting the seeds in the spring and then planting them out when it's warm enough. Yeah, I could probably speed up my pepper harvest a little bit, but yeah, it's okay. Maybe I'll try that experiment another time. So the peppers. This is one of those Emerald Tower basils that is starting to get touched. You can see the little browning around the leaves starting to get touched by the coolness. That one's doing a little bit better, but I think it's out of the prevailing sun or winds or whatever's going on. The mint, I need to come through here and weed whack all of this down and then put some compost on top, mulch, soil, whatever. Just kind of put that to bed too. Every year I think, oh, mint's not going to come back, but every year it does. This is a combination. There's actually two different kinds of mint, or at least there was. One's a lime mint, and the other one's called a variety called cookies and cream. That it just smelled like mint to me, and tastes like mint. So I have no idea which is which, or if they're still both going, or it's just one that's overridden the other. But right now, no biggie. And I'm always of those kind of thing that, if should this bed of mint truly die off, no biggie, I can use it for something else. Here's another one of my herb beds. So this is why I'm not too awfully concerned about that phenomenal lavender that I showed in the last video, because this is the cutting that I took last year from it, and it's doing pretty well. So if the one in the other bed that's on the north side of the house decides it doesn't like it and I can't get any cuttings to survive from it, I'll have this little thing to replenish. That corner is Greek oregano, more Greek oregano. Got some garlic chives kind of here in the corner, some creeping thyme. It's kind of like I use as a kind of living mulch. This is bee balm that I have to cut back. Another one of my sad-looking sage plants, and then black-eyed Susans. Here's one of those plastic half-barrel planters that I never got anything into. Then I had some, I'm sure bird or wind sown catnip that blew in there that I pulled up finally, and I won't be surprised if we don't get more. Some garden soil I got at Lowe's the other day that I still haven't spread. Here's another one of my rosemaries planted in a different spot just in case. This one is a lavender that I've cut back for the winter, another sage, and then there's another thyme that right now isn't looking so hot. I'm probably going to go through there and trim that back too before it gets too cold. And if it comes back, great. If it doesn't, I have others to recover. My butterfly bush, this is a dwarf variety. It's starting to not be quite as vigorous. Don't know if that's the dwarfishness, hybridness of it, or it just doesn't. This isn't a good spot. But if it doesn't come back, every winter I think, oh, it's not going to do well, and it doesn't come back, and then I turn around and it's coming back. So I call it my zombie butterfly bush. Got some irises and some daffodils in here. Some golden marguerites, or those little lacy flowers there in the center. Then there's some dianthus that keep coming back. Those things definitely fool me. Every year I think, oh, they're not going to come back, and then they come back. They have this pretty red flowers on them, which I really like. Obviously the red. Ooh, wind. Alright, what else? Mustard dawdle. Alright, so here's another one of my roses that I'm enjoying. It looks kind of crappy, but it does that to me, and I think, oh Lord, so I'm going to come through here and I'm going to trim it back somewhat, cut off the flower trusses that are spent, all kind of stuff. My cosmos that looked to be dwindling, I think most of that was just not a whole lot of rain in the last month or so. So we'll see if this perks them up, but these are all self-sown. I think I had one or two plants in here that I think have possibly gone the way of the dodo, and these little guys are just remnants. My little creme de cassis dahlia, this one I may try and actually pull up and see if I can do something with storage wise, just in case. I mean, I got the tubers at Walmart for like $5. I think I ended up with 3 plants, so I may just be lazy this year, but I might try to save that one. And some black-eyed Susans who have decided one last gasp of flowering. Some chamomile, borage interspersed in here, more borage that now that the weather is turning cooler will start not looking quite so sickly. That is one of my red profusion zinnias that I probably should have been in here deadheading, but the little things, they just keep flowering regardless. But I mean, that entire surface is pretty much nothing but flowers. New and spent. So if you're looking for a flower that keeps flowering no matter what, red profusion or any of the profusion zinnias, red just happens to be, of course, my favorite. This poor little spindly thing, this is one of those hibiscus tea plants. Never really amounted to anything, didn't get any flowers on it, and obviously it got too cold for it, so it's dead. So I'll be pulling that up. This is my stiletto rose. Looks like something has been munching on it, but we got this stem over here that's putting out new growth. So another one of my comfrey plants that were wilting with lack of water. Looks like it's now bouncing back. I'll be cutting this one back like I will the one in the backyard to make for either to do compost tea to set over the winter, or maybe just use it as mulch in this bed. Just cut it back and do some mulch. So this is my next project. This is my compost pile. And I think what I'm going to do, this is my little compost pile that's got volunteer tomatoes coming up in it. There's one of those malvas coming up in it. There's some kind of vine coming up, possibly sweet potato. Goodness. So I think what I'm going to do with this guy is I'm going to dismantle it. It's not really, meant to be permanent or anything like that. How did I fasten you guys together? Oh yeah, I kind of screwed them together, but not really strongly. So I think what I'll try and do is dismantle this and move it to a new spot, and then kind of wait until winter when everything dies back, remove the stuff that obviously isn't going to be good as a planting spot, and then build another bed, probably with cement blocks for the perimeter, and maybe possibly use that for my blueberry plant. We shall see. And this is my asparagus bed that is slowing down for the winter. Most of the older fronds are definitely dying back. There's a few new green fronds that are coming up that are basically from, the little berries dropping down and reseeding itself. So when you see, like in the seed catalogs and on the plant websites and things like that, when they talk about all male asparagus, this is what they're talking about. If you get all male plants, then you won't have the female plants in order to make the seeds, and you'll have a lower incidence of self-seeding and overcrowding the bed kind of deal. These asparagus are actually ones I did plant from seed. 7 years ago, and I have moved some of them out of this bed, trying to take them out of this bed that I think it's too shallow for the asparagus, but these guys keep coming back, and I guess they want to be here, so I'll probably just leave them here. We've got some strawberry plants in here. That right there is what I call a sweet rocket or a dame's rocket. It's one of those plants that comes out in the spring with blue flowers, usually a weed on the side of the road, but I like them. More of the cosmos. Got a little daylily here that I transplanted over here that I may regret that decision, but yeah, I can always move them or remove them. That's the good thing about gardening. Nothing is really permanent. One of my elderberries, they're dying back for the winter. Some more thyme. Another Dame's rocket. And that plant right there, I want to say is catmint. I want to say. I've got another one over in the one of the herb planting areas that I showed in the last video that we'll see. They're supposed to be perennials. We'll see if they come back. We've got lettuce plants that have gone to seed that I also see a lot of aphids on, so we may be removing you. I went ahead and let them go to flower to let the bees have something to chow down on. And then I've got other lettuces grown in here. Now this is one of the beds that had the shade cover on. It's still on. I will probably remove it like end of October, since these are all kind of cool season plants anyway. Won't worry about it too much. Some snapdragons, more of the borage in here that hasn't started growing too quickly. Calendula, got a little mess of carrots here interspersed with other things, so they may or may not do well. These lettuces here, this is a variety called Merlot that I got at Baker Creek. That, again, I'm pretty sure the lack of rain has kind of limited their growth for a little bit, but they're absolutely gorgeous. So even if you don't need a lot of lettuce, if you just want to pop a color, plant some Merlot lettuce, because I kind of like it. Alright, here's one of my half barrels going along the equator that has some salvia in it. Probably what I'm going to do is dump all that out and just repurpose it somewhere else, because it just seems to be more of a weed catcher than anything else. This is the bed where I had my apple tree seedling that I had grafted, that I planted, and it was doing so great. And I was cutting back the green stuff that you see is the golden marguerite, otherwise known as Dyer's chamomile. It was actually in the pot. I hadn't actually meant to plant that, but it was in the pot, evidently one or two little seedlings when I planted the apple tree. And golden marguerite is very happy. And then while I was cutting back the golden marguerite a month or so ago, I accidentally removed the apple tree portion, and I'm not seeing any apple tree leaves or anything, so I may have just totally killed it, but oh well. And then a little zinnia that I put in there just because I needed a spot. Okay, there's more of that, what I think is the catmint. Some basil that I need to pull out. I planted some broccoli seedlings here. This is where I had eggplants planted for the summer. You can see by the leaves all over the place, but that's just providing mulch. This is another bed that I'm going to need to bump up the soil level on. One of the big problems with that is the fact that this board on the bottom is coming loose. So I may have to put like bricks or something on the inside to kind of help waylay that. Maybe just use this little shelf here on the outside for low growing something or others. Vitex. This bed is a combination of catnip, grass that shouldn't be here, a lot of yarrow. I cut back this bed and you can see right there in the center, talk about zombies. So that is one of those dark black magic something or other crepe myrtles. I bought it at Lowe's several years ago, planted it here, thought it died, came back the next year and noticed leaves and it's growing back, and every time I keep forgetting to remove it and plant it somewhere else to see if maybe a different spot, but it just keeps coming back. So I guess I keep hoping that it's just going to miraculously be 12 feet tall the next time I see it, but it's not. Another elderberry in my white plastic pots. Staging area for another raised bed with my magic carpet. Tomato cages that I just kind of threw out here when I was cleaning out the tomatoes. Need to weed whack. This bed was the tomato bed that I planted some Brussels sprouts in. More basil that's hanging on but not great. Some more snapdragons. Oh, look at that. Parsley that is decided that it wants to live. Doing quite well. And I think I've shown this before. Here's another parsley. This is a flat leaf parsley that just obviously does not like being here. So this spot was where I had one of my tomato plants just utterly die. So there may be something about this end. Where's my finger? Something about this end. Although the tomato that was over on the other side did fine. So some more sweet alyssum, now that it's nice and cool, is liking being here. The hot pepper bed with a lot of the lemon drop peppers. I will not be growing those next year. The serrano, I think I'm just going to stick with my jalapenos, my regular hot jalapenos. I just don't like having to process that many teeny tiny little peppers. No me gusta. Alright, I got some Katrina cabbages here that are maybe thinking about heading up. See some things have been munching on it. Hopefully the cool weather will keep them away. Two more of my tomatoes. These are the Juliet tomatoes that are my favorites. Again, not doing splendidly, but they're putting on new growth. And, you know, I don't have really anything else to go in here. This little dahlia, now that I've cleaned out the tomatoes, is putting on new growth and new flowers. Hopefully it won't get zapped. So when I make these videos, I don't just make them to put stuff on YouTube and be, a smart aleck or anything like that. More of the dianthus. Another one of those dianthus. So I like those guys. I kind of go through here when I watch the videos, and it's like I can mark down what I liked and what I don't like. Okay, so this is what I don't like. This was a huge thyme plant that honestly I've been just meaning to take the whole planter and just dump it all out somewhere, and if the thyme survives by getting a little foothold and rooting into the ground, fine. If it doesn't, again, I have other thyme plants, but now I've got one of those blackberries coming up. I've got the grass weeds coming up. So probably gonna dump you over the winter. Okay, here's the poor pitiful sweet potato bed. That combination deer coming through and eating. First time in 8 years I've had deer come onto my property and do damage that I know of. We had the video from yesterday, the last video that I shot, of the apple tree that had been nipped back by a deer. So sweet potatoes getting chomped by the deer, and then we had cold weather. Sweet potatoes really do not like cold weather. I mean, it doesn't even have to get a frost and they'll still die back. So now that we've had some rain, I'm going to go through here and pull everything up. As you can see, I started to, and that was about what I got. So not really big enough to use. I guess I can probably make a couple of sweet potato fries out of that one. The others are just way too small. But that's okay. More of these barrels. Evidently the birds like to fly over with blackberry seeds over my white barrels, and or I weed whack down any that's just on the ground. But there's another blackberry seedling coming in. This is a perennial hibiscus. This one and that one that have been in these barrels the entire time I've had them, so good 7 years or so. I probably need to get those guys in the ground too. Oh, procrastination. Alright, so I went through, these are my little experimental sweet potatoes, as you can see. We had more of the same from them. I think some of the problem with these guys is I just didn't get the level of soil up as high as I should have. But it was one of those cases that I forgot. By the time I came back here, it was too late. These are my purple sprouting broccoli plants that seem to be munched on, and some enterprising critter dug through here and found a potato. All right, it's been a long time since I've had potatoes in this bed, but you go, little plant. And there apparently is another one. All right, what are these birds doing? So here's our grape arbor that's looking not happy, but that's kind of what happens to grapes. Again, this is one of those ones that I need to build up the soil level. As you can see, the soil level is down by about half. Still, fairly, maybe 8 or so inches, but not as high. I mean, formerly I had the soil that was up to the level of that landscape fabric right there. I'm basically using that. That's the stuff that water can get through, just kind of hold the soil, keep it from washing out, but obviously not working as well as I want it to. But this is my little bed that I made out of pallets. And it seems to be doing okay for something that I bought the materials for $20. It kept me out of trouble. It's not even by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't care. So I've got 3 grapevines in here. I also grew some of those butterfly peas. And when these guys, I've got some of the seed pods inside for next year. I need to find a better location for them. I think the grapes there wasn't enough sunlight for them. They grew and they flowered, and that was great, but it just wasn't as wild and crazy as other people were purporting. This is the bed that I passed some of the what you call it? Asparagus, that's the word. There's another one of my dahlias. That one would probably be a good one to pull up for the winter too. Marigold that got a little dry, I'm sure. But it's October, it's okay. So the two grapes that are on the far side over there are called Reliance. And then this is just a Concord. I'm actually thinking about possibly switching up to muscadines, or I saw that Gurney's keeps advertising there's a variety of grapes that's been kind of a new development. It's kind of a cross between the muscadine grapes and regular like vino grapes, the table type grapes. They're awfully expensive, so I may, when the seed catalog comes out next spring and they have their ubiquitous coupon for $50 off $100, I may go ahead and purchase one. And then here are my little elderberry seedlings. These are the cuttings from those two elderberries and the white planters. I just kind of, when I was pruning them early spring, I just kind of stuck the healthiest, there's 5 of them, into here just to kind of hold them over, and then they grew, as you can see. And quite obviously they cannot stay here. They're doing well, but they just can't stay here, so I'm going to have to suss out another area or build another bed and put them in. But I think they also kind of shaded out the grapes too. Grapes need the sunlight in order to ripen their fruit. So I guess you're supposed to learn from all your mistakes, right? We'll see. How many years have I been learning? Too darn many. So this is my pile of garden soil that I bought last spring and used partially to fill new raised beds. And I'll probably, if I can, use it to fill some of these other beds. But in the meantime, I had 2 watermelon plants that I planted here. As you can see by this little guy, the foliage is pretty much all dead. Combination of the colder weather and then the lack of rain kind of deal. There's that little guy, and then there's another one over there. But I'm pretty sure they're kind of like this one that I opened it up just to see, and it was just not even ripe. So we'll let whatever little animals. My mom suggested watermelon rind pickles, but it's not on my to-do list. Okay, another elderberry. There's my first mulberry tree. I don't remember if I told you guys about my adventure with the power line trimmers a month or so ago. It's probably back in August. So our electric company is venturing out into offering broadband for Wi-Fi and stuff, internet. And I guess what they're doing is they're going through and making sure that all the power lines are free of trees and obstructions and things like that. So they came out, and this is where my power comes in. This line comes up to here and then over to this pole, and then from there goes up to my neighbor behind me, and then there's another offshoot that goes to my neighbor over here. All right, no biggie. So they were up here, they were trimming some of the trees and stuff around the poles, and didn't think anything of it. And then one of the guys came with a chainsaw and chainsawed the weeds around that pole. There's some blackberry brambles and probably some wild rose brambles, stuff like that, which is fine, but I'm really not sure the chainsaw is the best tool to weed whack around a phone pole. So I didn't think anything of it. I'm just sitting there kind of watching. And then he gets through at that pole and comes over to this pole where my little mulberry is, where he is preparing to chainsaw because, oh my God, 2 of these little limbs are within 3 feet of the pole with his chainsaw. And I'm up on my balcony over here on the back deck. I come running out. I'm barefoot. I don't even remember, was I actually wearing clothes or was I still in my pajamas? I don't know. But I'm up there on that balcony screaming at him. No! And he saw me and he's just like motioning with his chainsaw and I'm like, no! And I think he saw the look in my eye that if he started chainsawing on my little bush over here, I'd probably come down there and yank the chainsaw out of his hand and proceed to weed whack him with it. Because he turned around and went back to the truck. But this little guy, poor little mulberry, trying to harass you. But yeah, I need to come back later this winter and just kind of prune things back, make him happy. Probably take off some of the ones that are a bit closer to the pole. We'll make everyone happy, but not with a freaking chainsaw, dude. That's just rude. Alright, here's my little black walnut seedling that I actually got. This was one that was planted by a squirrel in one of my little planters on my parents' back deck, their house. So I scooped it up and repositioned it here. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do, and this is a lot of area here going from that redbud down here to the black walnut and then to the mulberry. So there's this nice straight line here. I think I may try doing some more like raised beds like the ones back there in the backyard that we saw in the last video. I may try doing something like that. Maybe having a break in between so you can walk between it, and then plant lower growing shrubs or something like that. I'll have to cogitate on what. And then again, having to buy the materials and the soil and all that kind of good stuff. That's always a lot of fun. So here's my swarm of bees catching tree that I catch majority of any bee swarms in the spring. Will alight in this tree. They always tend to go to either the highest branches or the ones that I can't access very easily with the ladder I have, but depending on how I persevere. So this little area right here are there are blackberries and rose. There are rose and hollyhocks. Memory. Honeysuckle growing up in the tree, and the bees love it and it smells great in the spring. But I've got these little blackberries that this is going to be the blackberry bed right here. I was going to carefully weed around them and put up a little raised bed and put some better soil in there and fertilize. But now, since the bird seems to be distributing to other areas, maybe I'll rethink that notion. And this wild rose has the little rose hips that the birds will eat over the winter. There's also privet coming up in there, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. This is my tulip poplar seedling that originally came from that tree over there in my neighbor's yard. Evidently, wind or again a bird dropped into one of my raised beds and started growing, so I was able to dig it up and replant it over here, and in a space of 4 years, it's now probably a good 12 feet tall. bees seem to be happy. Taking advantage of the... Yep. Alright, these 4 guys are doing fine. Alright guys, well I think that may be it. That may be it. So if I do actually get productive this winter, and actually get some of the projects that I have mentioned in my videos, I'll make a video and let you know about them and show them to you and all that kind of good stuff. If, as usual, I procrastinate and don't get to it, we'll see how we do in the spring or the summer or the fall of next year. I have a lot to do. And considering the fact that I'm a week away from turning 59, I've got to get in better shape. You know, this whole 60 is the new 40 crap isn't true. It isn't true for me. But, yeah, I need to get in better shape. But I chose to do it, right? I went the way of the gardener instead of the rich, spoiled socialite that I probably should have been born to do. Alright, well, I'm glad I got rain last night, and I'm glad I got back to finish up the garden tour. If you see anything in the videos that you think I might be able to better, let me know. If you have any tips or suggestions, like the little area that I'm thinking of building between those 3 trees, let me know. If I use your suggestion, I'll be eternally grateful. Yeah, no prizes, sorry. But, alright, we're back to where we started. So everyone have a great Halloween. And probably if I do any more videos, it'll probably be of the yarn dyeing nature, or we may have good enough weather that I can actually get out and do some of those projects I told you about, and I'll shoot about videos of that too. But I guess I'll sign off. I'm gonna go do laundry because I'm down to my last pair of sweatpants. They're cool enough for warmer weather, but warm enough to keep me from freezing when it gets cool. My interseasonal duds, as it were. But thanks guys, and I'll see whoever, whenever. And again, if you think of anything or say anything you want me to show more in depth, you know me, I'm happy to oblige and share my wonderfulness with the world. Bye. Okay, I lied. Forgot I didn't show you the stuff on the back deck. I know, you couldn't wait. That was the one thing that you were waiting for, right? Okay, so this is my little seedling that I grew from a store-bought Meyer lemon. I had another one that I had planted in the bed at the back of the house with the 2 fig trees, but the one fig tree quickly overshadowed it, and it's still alive, but it's not doing the greatest. But this one seems to be doing okay. I still have 3 or 4 still in the original cups that I planted the seeds in, that I will bring in for the winter and see about doing something else with. But I may have to come up with a plan to maybe plant one outside, but a little bit further away from the house on the east side, just to get a little protection. See if that will overwinter outside. The little planter with my sage and thyme for the kitchen, so I don't have to go all the way down stairs into the garden if I need some. And again, it's doing good. Here's my little bay laurel bush that takes a licking and keeps on ticking. So this guy stays out all the time. This one will come in when it goes below freezing, so probably at night. And on days that are going to be below freezing too. I think I'll have to do some reading. I think these guys are okay 40 and above staying out. So yeah, I'll just have to do some more research on when I need to bring this guy in. I'll have to look into getting some citrus fertilizer. I don't know, do I have some down in the basement? It'd probably help if I went and looked before I went and bought some, because I probably do need to fertilize a little bit. I don't think I've fertilized that since I put it in the pot, which may be why some of the leaves are looking a little yellow. So we'll look at that. Otherwise, we'll just throw some fertilizer that I've got. There's another one of my rosemary cuttings from my dear departed ARP rosemary that I've told you many times. It's grown in this pot. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna remove the little drip tray just so it doesn't sit in too much water. Same deal with the bay. I'll just go ahead and remove it from the rainwater catch tray here, just so they don't get too waterlogged over the winter. But this guy, I'm just going to go ahead and see about, if we get really wretchedly cold weather, I'll probably bring this guy in. We'll see what kind of winter we have this year. But the bay tree will stay out until kind of like the orange tree, until it gets. I've had the bay tree out when it's like upper 20s and it's been fine. But it's doing so well, I don't want to set it back, so I may just bring it in. But it's kind of one of those things, these outside plants are kind of weird when you try and bring them in for the winter, because they're so used to being outside with a certain amount of sunlight that even with winter coming and the sunlight not being as strong as it had been in the summertime, it's still stronger than what's inside your house, unless you set up some special lighting and stuff like that, which I don't have. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I want to have, pretty much everything that I have to keep it out here on the back deck, and when I know it's going to be too cold, pull them inside, at least temporarily, until they can go back out for a little longer. So these were the pots that I had the tomatoes in last time I showed you this. I cut back the tomatoes and I planted each pot with a broccoli seedling. A couple of them have been picked on by the birds coming to the bird feeder, little buggers. See if I want to feed them birdseed, buy them birdseed. But we'll see how those guys do. If need be, this will be an easy way, having it back here, to be able to throw, just some little wire support or a wire trash can, then throw a blanket over it to keep the blanket off the foliage, and maybe preserve it for a little bit. And last pot here are these are my two more of those Emerald Tower basils that I just kind of threw in this pot. Probably not big enough for all three of these plants. This is a cilantro that's going to seed, so I don't think I'm going to get any coriander seeds out of it, but it's pretty. But yeah, I think next time if I try and put these kinds of basils in a pot, I'll do one at a time. Again, I was just finding places to throw stuff at certain points. All right, I think now the tour is done. And like the SS Minnow, it's probably 3 hours long. All right. Anything else you want to add there, B? Yes? Say hi. B says hi. B says bye. So do I. Bye.